Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. The aftermath of the Cleveland Browns' thrilling 49-38 victory over the Dallas Cowboys is only part of what we'll discuss on today's program, as we are going to take the same attitude as Kevin Stefanski, and that's look ahead. What happened, happened. And now you got to look ahead and figure out a way to go up against a team with a mighty, mighty front defensive line that stops the running game when our primary running back is going to be gone for many, many weeks. If you're living in a cave and you haven't heard, the dreaded sprained MCL, which isn't nearly as bad as the ACL, of course, we've seen this injury in a number of cases. The MCL sprain is always a 4 to 6 week thing. I have explained to viewers in the past that I've had this injury. I actually got it on vacation in the Bahamas. Not that disease. This was actually an MCL sprain. I was walking down a wet concrete walkway that was slick. It had some kind of sealant on the top of it, and my leg splayed out, and I did almost like a kind of and my leg folded under me, and that was bad, and it swelled up, and it is, when he went down, and then when I saw what happened with the rollover, I was thinking maybe a hyperextension, but the MCL is always another one.
It's the side one, isn't it? That's why he got hurt.
It's on the medial side. It's on the inside of the knee. There's the LCL, which is on the outside, but the LCL is very rarely damaged unless you get into car accidents. And if that gets injured, if you're LCL, it doesn't isolate. That means you probably have the Holy Trinity, which is the MCL, the LCL, and the ACL. And that's what happens in car wrecks. They call it the Holy Trinity of knee injuries. So the MCL is the one most easily separately sprained, and there are degrees of sprains. The fact that he walked off the field the way he did, I highly doubt that's a grade 3 sprain. I'm thinking
card out for him.
I'm thinking it's a grade 2. They don't call anything a grade 1 these days, so I'm saying it's a grade 2. It's 4 to 6 weeks, and we're just going to, and that's a good point, It is not the same knee that he damaged to Georgia, but I mean, we saw what happened. It could have happened to anybody. When you're in, just kind of.
And again, this is something that if it happened on grass, maybe he only has a light sprain or medium sprain, and not something that's going to keep him out for 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, and they're saying what Stefanski specifically is saying is they're going to keep an eye on it and see what happens. But I mean, I think everybody knows the IR is 3 weeks, but the IR is it's going to be 3 weeks, and realistically, we know it's 4 to 6. And historically, by the time he comes back to the Cleveland Browns, the season will be made or broken. They don't have to rush him back. I mean, nobody really expects the Cleveland Browns by the end of the year to be in the hunt for playoffs. Some people are getting all excited and saying it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen without Nick Chubb. Be that as it may, if you're in a situation where after 4 weeks of football, and one of those, I believe, when is our bye week, guys?
It's after the Bengals game. So I think you got the Colts, Steelers, Bengals, Raiders, and then the bye week. So there's 4 games.
All right. So, I mean, what you'll see is those 4 games go by, then the bye week, and then you'll probably see him doing his workouts and things of that nature. Let me put that full screen, Bronk.
Can people see that?
No, let it set here because it's not focusing. It's like a bad eye chart. It's like I don't have my glasses on. But
Colts, Steelers, Bengals, Raiders. The Steelers and Bengals games are away.
Yeah, well, we know the
Colts and
Bengals
Raiders
have to be
are
away, and of course they just won their first game. So you got Joe Burrow, who's going to get
Joe
a second
Burrow,
shot at us.
Yeah, he's getting better.
Yeah, well, and this is as you get used to a system that is a young quarterback friendly system, that makes all the difference in the world. And people are now making their Steven theories that of what he will be consuming in mass quantities.
I would think Taco Bell. I think Chipotle's a bit too upper class for him.
Yeah, Bill Bryan gone, fired. You have a quarterback that you spent that much money on, and if you're 0-4, that's the kind of shit that happens.
They did get beat by the Vikings, so I can understand him being fired. So there you go.
But Bill O'Brien was basically the white Way Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know enough about that team except that it never seemed to gel for them.
And they always underperformed especially in the playoffs. So,
and thanks, Rick. And I know a lot of the players in the players' union, J.C. Treader, saying we want grass fields everywhere, and you can't really blame them. Austin. I think that if you look at the play, it's not that he broke a tackle. I think he ran around him. I think that he took a line that if Odell had gone flat on the end around instead, but Odell had one advantage that we didn't have at home, and that's that he could see in front of him. We were only looking at the play from the side, and he went deep and looped around probably 5 to 7 yards more out of his way in order to outrun Aldon Smith. And then once he turned the corner, there was nobody there. And this is what we were seeing all day long in that game, is that the outsides were wide open, and to run yet another reverse. One was a pass, two ended up where Odell Beckham runs. They were just overcommitting, and that's a sign of a lack of maturity. And the defensive coordinator in Dallas, keep your eye on this guy because he may not be around. The comments that were made, I believe he was a former NFL coach. Nolan, is that his name?
He used to be the coach in Atlanta when the Falcons were terrible.
Well, now the Cowboys are terrible. So,
or at least the defense, they got half the team.
Well, it was interesting with the Beckham play call that the play prior was the 2-point conversion that was also a reverse, with Amari Cooper strolling in because nobody. So I'm just thinking whether that inspired the Browns to call that play because they had tried it in the first half and it gained about 20 yards. They didn't really stop it. So I'm thinking that, no, let's try it here because they just ran on us.
Well, I think.
Well, yeah, it was only supposed to go 20, 25 yards to run more clock on.
Yeah. More specifically, after the game in our post-game show, there are comments that I made regarding why this started out a great game to watch and why it ended up just kind of a nail biter for no apparent reason. After the game, Baker Mayfield spoke to the press, and here's what he said, and you can compare this to what I said. We let them back in the game, Mayfield said. It's a great team. They are resilient. We've seen them come back against Atlanta earlier in the season, so it shouldn't have been a surprise to us. We've got to be able to put that away. That was his comment. And then the Browns were already talking about how they would learn from the game afterwards and how they'd be better because of an ending that was far more dramatic than anyone thought it would be. Here's what Stefanski said. Finishing the first quarter of the season 3-1 is well done by these guys, but it is a 4-quarter game and it is a 4-quarter season, Stefanski said. Once we watch the tape and try to get better after this win, the focus goes right back to the next opponent for next week. There really is no time to think about this. And this is, goes back to what we had said about Stefanski earlier. It's 1-0 every week. They're going to happen in different ways. This one looked like it was going to be a blowout, and it was not a blowout. All right? Then it wasn't. He wasn't thrilled with the defensive effort. I'm sure the Browns not happy, and Dallas is far less happy because they've given up this many points, and the Browns have given up far too many points. Joe Woods, being in his first year in Cleveland, has a group of players who are quite honestly awful. Linebackers and defensive secondary players, no safeties. So he's really working with far less material, of course, than he had in San Francisco. So this is a rebuild from his perspective. He's got to figure out a way to make these pieces work because, Greedy Williams ain't coming back. I'm convinced he ain't coming back anytime soon. Yeah, Bronk.
Sendejo played every single defensive snap. He played
And that's
100%
terrible.
of the time. So that means that old Sheldrick Redwine didn't play at all on the defense. So if Redwine is that bad that he can't crack into the lineup, when Sendejo was like, a headless chicken, really. What does that tell you? We don't have the talent to play a proper playoff team,
And, again, you watch the game and it was mind-boggling. It's like, oh God, this can't happen to us again. I mean, and I get sick to my stomach because of the press, and then they'll immediately dig up, this was the greatest comeback in history, and then they'll be showing it on the NFL memories of the week for the nenext 30 years, like the drive, the fumble, and all the other bad things that have happened to the Browns. Well, hopefully, the Browns do learn something. And I don't think that there's much that the players can learn. The coaching staff has to come to a determination on what guys belong on the football field and which guys don't. Sendejo is depth. If you're playing him every down in the game, you've got a big problem on your hands. He just can't cover. He's not fast enough.
And what we're starting to do? We're starting to play off, too. We're really starting to give people room on the line of scrimmage on the wide receivers and the slot guys.
Well, the whole fourth quarter was just an illustration of pitch and catch. And yes, they were nice throws, but the receivers were wide open. I mean, what I said yesterday, and I'll repeat it again, if you allow a quarterback with only one timeout left to throw the ball in the middle of the field and you allow the guy to stretch the field out and make it to the sidelines untackled like 5 consecutive times, what the fuck are you doing? Then you're not even in the ballpark. That's a lack of effort, plain and simple. You can't, and it's not that Amari Cooper is the fastest man on the planet either, but to allow him to run across the field time and time again and get out of bounds, that's 19 seconds on average for the Dallas Cowboys, who were rushing to the line of scrimmage to get their next plays off. But it put them in a position where they didn't have to worry about it. And the Browns kept giving up the sideline patterns too. It didn't make any sense. We're fortunate. We're fortunate that we didn't have to face the final thing, which is, God only knows, if Denzel Ward doesn't pick that pass off and they get into the end zone, do you really want to see the Cleveland Browns with their history trying to handle an offside kick? Go ahead, Bronk.
No, I mean, Prescott threw 57 passes before he threw an interception. I mean, how many times did the Browns get 2 hands on the ball and the ball just fluttered away off in the sky? I mean, there must have been 4 or 5 that I counted that could have been picked off prior to Denzel Ward, particularly in the third quarter. I mean, 3
were definitely catchable.
Yeah,
I think Redwine did play. He did. I
Not
saw
on
him on.
defense.
He was probably covering the slot receivers.
He was not on
No.
defense. He was
Oh, that's
not
right.
on defense.
He was in, I believe, on the blocked extra point.
Yeah. The
That's where
special
I think
teams.
I saw him on the field. But I mean, other than that, no.
I mean, I could get the game book up on my screen. I don't know if I can share it, but I can show you guys. But carry on.
Yeah, I mean, and all of these comments, zone coverage is what we were going to see, and I understand that we can't literally cover people mano a mano. It's just not in the cards with the talent that we have. Mitchell does a pretty good job most of the time, and Denzel does a good job most of the time. But it's the safeties that are, you're not seeing. The only time you see two Browns in the frame at the same time is if they're taking the ball away from one another. In essence, it's a peculiar thing. Now Neil is asking a question here. What should we do to him? Yeah.
Well,
What do you do?
he did
He's
get
a
a forced
special teams
fumble.
guy. I was under
Yeah.
the impression that Sendejo was brought in here to be a hard-nosed guy who'd play a few downs but really get out there on special teams. That was my impression of who Sendejo was when we picked him
Yeah,
up.
but then Grant Delpit went down with a massive injury, and that changed everything.
Correct. I can
Yeah.
share the playbook if you guys want to see it, the game book.
Sure.
What are we doing? All right, let's. There we go. All right.
That's those are the starting lineups. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll get to the percentages. Game summary. That's the stats. Keep going. Those are the drive. Miscellaneous stats.
This better be a goddamn good stat, Bronk.
Here we go. Playtime percentage.
Yeah, there you go.
Wills, Teller, Mayfield, Treader, Botonia, 100%. Conklin, 95, and that was because Hubbard came in for 4 plays. All right, there you go. You see that? Sendejo, 100%, right there. Denzel Ward, Terrence Mitchell. So the secondary, the 4 guys of the secondary were out there every play. No wonder they were tired. And then let's go down. Taki, 35%. Mac Wilson, 33%. Sheldrick Redwine, and special teams, 16 special teams.
Yeah,
Parkey, 16. Yeah. So Redwine did not play a fucking snap other than on special teams. So that's the problem right there. You've got this secondary that's not very good playing every single down.
Okay, let's get that visual off the screen.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
There we go. Good job. Good job on that. Again, Sendejo is old. I mean, this is a special teams guy. He got special teams written all over him.
Stefanski pet, as your correspondent correctly pointed out there. Old Neil don't sit.
Yeah, well. So again, the biggest takeaway of the game to me is that the team is aware of this. They're not happy. Mayfield's not happy with the way it ended. The head coach is not happy with the fourth quarter. And it isn't about, we got to do better. Is that he's going to drill into these players' skulls. God damn it. If we go into a zone defense at the end of a game, the idea is to tackle people and stop them in the middle of the field and make the clock keep running.
I think they gave a lot of cushion, so much cushion. It was like a prevent without calling it a prevent. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and then here's another thing. After the nationally televised interview from Baker Mayfield, he said, "I'm proud of these guys. for the first quarter of the season being 3-1. That speaks volumes to us bouncing back after week one, Mayfield said. We have to hit the reset button. We're on to the second quarter of the year. We have the Colts coming up, and we have to continue to improve. This does not feel like last year one bit, and that's because the Browns won in week 4 last year against the Ravens. We are going to
Victory Monday, and everybody partied for a week, and then they ended up getting smacked for the next 4 games in a row and lost every fucking game badly, and they were all over. In fact, we knew it at the time. At the end of the Ravens game, that they were running on fumes. That we were all critical of that.
But that's great. It does not feel like last year. It doesn't look like last year either. My famous eye test,
Moose Johnson's going on about that too. Where are your eyes?
To me, the Browns look like a professional football team that is lacking in certain areas that need to be filled in, and are far better than anybody thought they were going to be. The other thing is, and year after year after year of Hue Jackson, and for those people not familiar, why is he Hue and not Hugh?
He's
our revolutionary head coach, man.
He's a revolutionary leader. That's exactly right. And, we would sit there and say the whole idea of implementing a new scheme is you've got to teach it, and through the season you make a judgment as to whether the team's getting better. And I would always say,
the team got worse.
Don't give up. Don't give up after the first 4 games of the year, because usually the first 4 games of the year are very, very difficult for any team implementing a new scheme. And I said it again this year because of the pandemic. And but this coach, after getting the shit kicked out of him in the first week, managed to get the players' attention, and they are not making ridiculous miscues. They are running, and we're not hearing from Stefanski, thank fucking God, is we just simplified the playbook for these guys. We don't need to know that. Stefanski isn't going to say that. The bottom line is he's calling plays, and the players obviously know how to run them.
Yes.
I mean, and this is the kind of shit that went down with Freddie Kitchens that was ridiculous. I mean, he'd call a play that they hadn't even practiced. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? And here we finally have a coach. And when people were talking about the second reverse, what Stefanski said about it was, first of all, the end around pass with Landry was something that Odell Beckham had been on him to call. He goes, week after week, I'm staring at it on the call sheet, and we decided to go with it this week. That's how that got accomplished, listening to a player. How about that? Then
wow.
You have the other one that was called, the first one that was called to Odell, where he ran for 20 yards.
Yeah.
And when they needed something, Stefanski said, these guys are going to do whatever they can to stop us. And he said, we went back to the well because it worked so well the first time.
Yeah.
And he saw the same thing I saw of the overcommitting. And now it's not like he drew up a touchdown play in the dirt.
There would be 4 Cowboys way out of bounds on the play. They over pursued so much that they were 3, 4, or 5 yards out of bounds by the time Beckham had ran past them. If
you're a Cowboys fan, I mean, you're sitting there saying, how did Aldon Smith miss him? And the fact of the matter is, if all there is a linebacker on an island to stop Odell Beckham, you're fucked. Where's the help? Where's the help side to the weak side? Where is it? And it's not there. There was no contingency on that. It was Aldon Smith.
Defensive end. He played 54 plays, man. He's like an edge rush linebacker defensive end.
Poor guy.
He ain't good enough.
He's out there on the island, man. He's a good player when he plays this position, but he can't be expected to outrun Odell Beckham in an open field. And where's help? Usually in a situation like that, Aldon Smith will be asked to prevent him from cutting it inside and force the duration of the play to go longer, so somebody will come up on the outside and stop him. But I mean, there's nobody home.
There was nobody there. There was nobody there between Aldon Smith and then the nearest Cowboy. It was like we're talking 17 yards. I think it was amazing.
Yeah. Hi, Reggie. How you doing? By the way, we were talking about some of my favorite people, including Skip Bayless. And Skip Bayless's comment after the game was, because he's, we know who he loves. He said, that Baker Mayfield is going to wind up a Dallas Cowboy. And
because Reason and Kozar did?
No, you want to know why he said it? I mean, this has got to be the funniest thing of all.
Why?
I'm going to open this up to the people in the chat room who are Browns fans. Why was Bill Cowher going to be the next coach of the Cleveland Browns at least 3 different times? Do you remember what every time it was like, heard a story that he was looking for a house. Exactly. And Skip Bayless falls to the house shit. He says, Baker's got a house in Dallas. E-I-E-I-O. Big fucking deal. He's going to play where he wins and nobody's going to want to go to Jerry Jones. Get over it, dude. Man. They've
got a guy who just threw for 500 yards and four touchdowns.
Right.
They haven't given him a contract extension.
And they got Andy Dalton as a backup.
Yeah, Mr. Gingers. It's the
They got
gingerbread
Ginger
man.
Snap.
Yeah, and the whole it's ridiculous. People overreacting left and right to this, but it was nice that the biggest takeaway that I had that the coaches addressed this and the players addressed it. I think that's just great. The fact is the MRI is in on Chubb, so that's not the best news in the world. The other good thing you can say, the defense, when the game was really in the offing, as far as in the beginning of the game to accumulate a lead, 3 big opportunistic plays, taking the ball away, that is huge. And especially when, statistically, we were looking at some other numbers that were a little bit different. 100 is the number. Baker Mayfield posted his 3rd consecutive game with the QB rating of 100 or better. That's the longest of his career. Consistency, folks. He hit 100 right on the head. That's exactly what his quarterback rating was. Nothing exciting. 19 of 30, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, no mistakes. And what people were complaining about Baker Mayfield is, he came out and he looked dangerous, right? But then what happens, the next week and the next week after that, this is his 3rd consecutive 100 or better in this scheme. We're winning football games. And, for those who want to say, well, he wasn't worth the pick, and the value of the pick, then tell me Saquon Barkley was worth it. Go someplace else. There's, tell me that Sam Darnold was worth it,
Here's the stats.
The Jets are going to the Super Bowl. I'll never let that pile of shit live that comment down. Ever.
There you go. 100 exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's
1129.
By the way, the last time the Browns scored 49 points, they scored 51 actually in 2007 against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, that was a wild game too.
And the stretch of 3 games in a row with 30 or more points is the longest since 1968. That's unbelievable in and of itself. I mean, we
haven't beaten the Cowboys since Belichick. Either. I think it was like 1994 the last time we actually beat the Cowboys in anything.
333 yards of offense in the first half. That's the most in a game since 1991.
Against the Colts, ironically enough.
And 71 is the combined receiving yards from Harrison Bryant and Austin Hooper. And that's the most that our two tight ends have gotten yardage-wise all season long, which means, again, as Baker becomes more comfortable with the system, he's looking at the right people, because these are the people, A, who are on the field, and B, the people who are, in many cases, primary receivers in this scheme. 8 are the number of turnovers in the past 2 games by the Browns, and 0 by the offense the past 2 games. And that plus 8 is a huge number. Jarvis Landry's never missed a game in his career, and this was his 100th consecutive game. He's the Cal Ripken, I guess, of football. And if you were wondering about Myles Garrett, 35 and a half, that's the career sacks. He trails Reggie White, Aldon Smith, Sean Merriman, and Derek Thomas for the most by a player through their first 41 games. And that's the late Reggie White. What a player he was. My God. And Sean Merriman, I think, cooled off, didn't he? Maybe he got hurt. And Derek Thomas, we know what kind of a player Derek Thomas was.
Dead.
Everybody's dead. Say what?
Everybody's dead. Derek Thomas.
Everybody's dead is right. Yeah. So, I think that now we look forward, and the real issues are, we're playing a very different team. This is like a roller coaster ride. We're going from playing a team that goes into the hurry up offense and will just beat you down the field in a split second, to Phillip Rivers and the tortoise offense that is employed by the Indianapolis Colts, which is a possession game. And we know Phillip Rivers because we've played against him a number of times.
We never fucking beat him.
Well, here's the problem. He is going to get rid of the ball quickly. He's not fast. He's not mobile. I mean, if you can, and you're not really going to confuse him totally, because he's been around forever. So he's going to dump the ball off to running backs, and he's going to dump the ball off to tight ends. And we don't have the kind of coverage that we need. And you got to play up on guys if you're going to, and to blitz this guy, he'll just take 3 steps and just, and he's coming off a game which is typical Phillip Rivers, which is, I mean, look at him.
The game book on that, if you want me to. Take me a couple minutes.
Well, he threw for about 190 yards, and he actually threw a pick, which is unusual for him, because you're not going to get the turnovers from him, because he does not notoriously, although he's thrown 3 this year, from what I can understand. He has completed 72% of his, almost 73% of his passes, but only 984 yards after 4 games. So, and his longest was a 45-yarder. He's thrown 3 picks, 4 touchdowns. He's been sacked 3 times in 4 games. You're just not going to get at this guy. And his overall quarterback rating is a 97.3. This is very typical. He's a guy who will manage a game. He's at a time in his life where he's not going to beat you with a long ball, but he's going to beat you with his smarts. And so this is exactly the opposite of what we ran into with Dallas, where you have a quarterback who can clearly run with the football and showed that he could, as well as get the ball and chuck it down the field. Phillip Rivers is more of a middle of the field, throw the ball out in the flat kind of guy to running backs and tight ends, and he's going to hold on to the ball for longer periods of time. This proves, I'm sure, to be a lower scoring football game for that reason, because both teams are possession teams, but in a different kind of way. Jonathan Taylor is their running back. He's run for 250 yards. However, only 3.8 yards a carry with a long of 16. Their running game has not been good. This is what's been hurting this team. Jordan Wilkins, 94 yards, and Nyheim Hines, 73 yards. They don't have, since Marlon Mack went down, they just don't have a second running back, and people are keying on Jonathan Taylor. 62 and a half yards per game. At the whole rushing game averages around 115 yards per game, but they're not getting big chunk plays. So, this is where the short pass comes into play. The number of passes, attempted 121. It's about 30 passes per game. So they're still trying to balance the run and the pass. They're just not getting nearly as much as they need to out of the run. Their receiving core, he spreads it around, but look at who he's spreading it around to. 11 receptions and 13 targets to Mo Alley Cox. That is his tight end. T.Y. Hilton, who is their guy who's the deep threat, he's still only averaging 12 and a half per catch, but he's got 13 receptions and 22 targets, and he can beat you deep. And Zach Pascal, who is another guy, about 12.9 yards per, and it's mainly the system that they're in, but he can beat you deep. Then you got 16 receptions by Nyheim Hines, a running back who's like a Duke Johnson guy, 6 yards a pop, and Jonathan Taylor has caught 10 passes. So you can see that, there's 5 different receivers, and 2 of them are his running backs, and one of them is a tight end. The wide receivers have caught 23 passes this year. And
that's the game book from the Bears game. There it is. There's Zach Pascal that you're talking about. Phillip Rivers, 29, 16 completions, 86.9, 190 yards. The Bears could not run the fucking ball.
That's it.
16 attempts, 28 yards, 1 point average, longest run, 6 yards.
Well,
Jesus.
they've had 10 sacks this year. I mean, DeForest Buckner, who's a veteran, has been, got 1.5 sacks, but Justin Houston, the defensive end, has 3.5 sacks this year. Nolai Molokai, Danico Autry, another one with 2 sacks, a defensive end. Tyquan Lewis, another defensive end who comes in and spells players. He got a sack. 10 so far this year.
Look at how few first downs in this game, 18 and 16. Very few first downs in this game, like 4 a quarter per team.
Well, Nick Foles is kind of like Phillip Rivers, isn't he? He's a game manager.
Anyway.
Well, and they had 7. Colts defense had 7 passes defensed.
Yeah, exactly.
3 of them by Julian Blackman, who also had an INT. So,
I mean, the touchdowns that they've scored this year, 9, 6 of them have come from running backs and tight ends in the passing game. All right.
We're fucked. We don't cover anybody coming out of the backfield or tight end.
I mean, it is it's a very different scenario, and they put up a wall. They have 10 sacks, but they have smothered the running game. And the Bears just aren't very good offensively. This has been the case for a long time with that franchise. But I don't feel so good without Nick Chubb there, because Nick Chubb can make you pay for a mistake. Dearness Johnson, not going to make you pay in the same way. And again, now the scary thing is a guy who's tweaked a groin muscle, and Kareem Hunt is one cut away, And I don't want to be looking at trying to go at this team with Dearness Johnson and Dontrell Hilliard as the, as the 1-2 punch, but it could happen. It is possible. But this is what's going to make this a much more challenging game. So, I know what to expect from Phillip Rivers, but with our secondary, I mean, if Sendejo just decides to fall asleep at the switch, Phillip Rivers will throw long passes.
Yeah.
And he can throw behind people in long passes and still get touchdowns the way Sendejo's covering as a free safety.
He can still wing the ball 30 yards. It's not that
right.
It's not that big of a deal.
He's not going to wind up and fire one in a true bomb. He's going to throw a long intermediate pass that a guy gets behind somebody. And I'll tell you, if the team is going to pass people along to Sendejo behind him, they better make sure that Sendejo is behind them, because I'm not sure what he's doing out there.
Well, the Chargers absolutely torched us when they played Wade Jackson like 2 years ago. And we were coming off a big win and said, "Oh yeah, we'll beat the Chargers. We'll beat the Chargers." And I said, "No, we're gonna get fucked," and we got fucked. So no,
I love the fact.
But they also got a gift touchdown from the fucking officials.
Yeah, the referees were bad in that game. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Kid Wilson, nice to have writing in the chat room. I'm thrilled that the Browns are 3-1, and we really have a real chance to beat the Colts. But it's a different challenge. Every week, it's a different challenge. I mean, going into Dallas, the challenge was, how do we match the high-octane offense?
Yeah.
All right? And how do we, with our scheme, really push our will on them? Now we're playing a much more physical team. Hi, Tony. Nice to see you.
Sorry I'm late. Funeral today.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. I guess from my perspective, you're looking at a different challenge, because they don't mind being in a ball possession game. They don't mind throwing short passes over the middle and letting the clock run. You have to beat a team like this, you have to be precise. You cannot make mistakes. You have to be mistake-free again, like we have been the last couple of weeks. And you have to be able to, if you can't force a mistake from them, you've got to have the toughness, the absolute toughness to be able to win a close game. You got to be cool, calm, and collected. This has,
and you cannot turn the ball over either.
Right. I mean, in a real world sense, this game has all the early earmarks for a very close outcome, and the steadiest hand will wind up winning. I feel good about our offense. I feel good about our ability to run a good, tight offense in the clutch. I'm not so thrilled that our defense can get somebody off the field in that close of a game. So,
I don't know. I'm not optimistic at all for this game, but we'll see. We got to be able to run the ball, obviously.
There are two people waiting, and Dayron Arias, explain to me what about in the chat room what stood out for you as far as the Browns game, and what do you think we need to do in order to stop the Colts? That question is for Dayron Arias, who's checking out our show. And the same question for you, Sailor 803. Same thing. What do we have to do to beat the Colts? So just
and how many home runs did Babe Ruth hit in 1927?
There you go. That would be another good question too. Yeah. And from week to week in the league, everybody's got a different MO for winning. I mean, and the precision that you play with against a team like the Colts. I mean, we know that the Colts, when Jacoby Brissett was quarterbacking them, was not a high octane offense, and they're still not. They're not scoring a lot of points, but they stop people.
Forgive me for asking if I missed, but what's the prevailing belief on the running game now that we know that Chubb is gone for at least 3 to 4 weeks?
I see no panic in the organization. I see that more reps for Dontrell and more reps for D'Ernest in practice, and they got to learn the blocking schemes, when to cut back. They've got to work with that great offensive line in front of them. I'd rather have this situation than, again, have no offensive line, which is what our problem has been for so many years, that we haven't had a cohesive offensive line, especially during these last 3 losing years.
Chubb's our best player on an individual basis, but it would have been more catastrophic if we lost one of our top linemen. If fucking Batonio or
Wyatt Teller.
Yeah, exactly. If one of them was out for 6 weeks, I'd be shitting myself. So,
Yeah, I don't feel, I feel that if the holes are there, Nick Chubb would get 11, 12, 13 yards. But if Dearness Johnson can get 6, if Dontrell Hilliard can get 6, and we can just move the chains, again, the important thing is sticking the ball in the end zone and staying with your identity and being able to run the ball. The real question is, nobody's been running the ball really well against this team, and the Bears were easy fodder. So that's
still 1 point.
They may not get. They probably won't get 300 yards against the Colts, but if they got like 140
or 50 yards, if you get that
between the 3 running backs, and then if they have another trick play that goes for 30, 40 yards, that'll probably
that would be enough. I agree with that totally. That would be enough.
So, and Rick, that's the Bears. I mean, if they thought that Nick Foles is going to correct the problems of an offense that is impotent, they're wrong about that, because Nick Foles is a guy who's just kind of
really.
He's not going to make a lot of mistakes. He's not going to make a lot of huge plays. He's a guy who is accurate when he throws the football, but you got to have people to throw to, and if you're going to throw the ball, you got to be able to run the ball. They have no running game. This is a great point by Rick. I mean, right, their collective opponents been 4-8 this year. They haven't played, and the same thing could be said, with the exception of the Ravens, about us. Now, Washington has been horrible, and
we've got the easier schedule than the Colts.
And the Cowboys, you can say that they got personnel, but their record is 1-3. And so, there are a lot of teams that are kind of inferior teams, and the Colts 3-1 record is also a surprise around the league. But they're, when you front load some easier games, that's the kind of luck you get. Washington, on the other hand, I saw that there are some people making calls that Dwayne Haskins be replaced, and he threw for 314 yards. He threw for, I mean, this has been
he looked all right yesterday.
He did. I mean, 314 yards passing against the Ravens, and I don't know what in the hell people are complaining about.
No, that's more than what Baker must have had.
I mean, we didn't have a chance. We just didn't have a chance. I mean,
Washington played them better than we did, so. Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
It is what it is.
No, Michael Irvin. If you're going to spell this correct, dude. We have a lot of people who are jumping in, but because unless you're going to be talking in the chat room about football, I'm not letting anybody on the air except people I know.
It's like the parents, you
got children who are playing around on Twitch, is what you got, and
now I'm not on Twitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, as Donald Trump would say, sad. This is the youth of America. To hear some other things.
Wasn't that the Kim Wilde song?
What?
Kids in America.
Kids in America, yeah. Everybody lives for the music around here.
She's still out there. She still does concerts. Well, maybe not.
That's scary.
He did before, yeah. He's about our age, a little bit
But
younger.
Nick Foles had to throw 42 times, by the way, against the Colts, and you don't want that.
Oh.
No, and luckily enough, he only threw one interception.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but he only threw for one touchdown, and it took him 58 minutes into the game to get it. Garbage time.
Yeah, garbage time.
Garbage time. Yeah.
Allen Robinson finished with 7 catches.
Yeah. And get this. The Bears punted 7 times.
Yep.
God, the guy, they had to give him oxygen, man, running on and off the field, the damn punter.
Hey, give it up for Cody Parkey, though. He got 11 points. How many did we beat Dallas by? 11 points.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Cody Parkey.
You know what's kind of nice to see? And that's that on these extra points, the ball is going straight. There's none of this hooking bullshit.
Yeah, he's not doing this beforehand either, is he?
Right, yeah. But the ball is at least going in a straight line.
Feel like off straight.
Our last kicker, man, the guy we drafted, and I've forgotten his name already.
Sonny Siebert, he pitched a no-hitter.
Yeah. I mean, everything was hooking so fast and pushed and fading so fast. None of the extra points looked secure. These things are going pretty much down the middle. The question is, can he make one when the pressure's on? And that's going to be a question that will be repeated to him over and over again. I hope he gets a chance in Cleveland I
mean, all those kicks were important yesterday. If he misses one of them at one point, that would have been a momentum shift, and we might have lost that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the belief is that if an organized Browns team hits the field, they can put some points up on the board, but it ain't going to be 30.
We literally have a chance to win every game that we're playing. We haven't been able to say that for how many years? 10 years?
Yeah, and I think the only thing that really, being fans, maybe we tend to be a little bit negative about things only because we've seen it go away so many times. But, the truth is that, I feel like on any given Sunday, and that's who we are right now. It's funny, after week 1, it's like we're one of the worst teams in the league. Then after we beat Cincinnati, okay, well, big deal. Now we're kind of in that vast middle when we beat the Redskins and we beat the Bengals. Now who are we? And it's like, well, now you're still in the vast middle, but the vast middle means any given Sunday you can win.
Or you get blown off the field.
What happens if they get?
Go ahead, Tony.
What happens if they do get blown off the field by the Colts?
It can happen.
The truth is that anything can happen, and see there you go. This is why you can't click on things and kick.
It's that same asshole from yesterday, I think.
Yeah, you see?
I recognize that asshole.
Yeah.
I'm here for a week, by the way.
Might be time to ditch Twitch, Mark.
Yeah. I think that's definitely. But, these kids are smart enough to know where we're broadcasting from and all that. And they're smart enough to catch COVID and die. So...
Yeah, stay positive, kids. Stay positive.
Yeah. So Reggie is like, whoa. Yeah, it's like, we're not going there. I don't know. I felt like I was in Pennsylvania.
I'm blind.
Oh, that looks like your Roethlisberger girlfriend.
No, the Hershey Highway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those Hershey kisses you don't want, man.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. So, there's a lot of things. The wide receivers, T.Y. Hilton has a lot more possibilities to beat you deep than, some of the guys on the Raiders. on the Cowboys. It is what it is.
We got beat deep anyway, so.
Yeah, but the thing with Phillip Rivers is if you can blitz him in a given set of circumstances, put your arms up and knock passes down. He has a very short arm delivery, always has. Yeah, it's almost like a shot put, but it's all part of why he gets rid of the ball so quickly and why he's sacked so few times. This is it's going to be a challenge, but I really believe that we do have a chance.
Yeah, you've
got some fur.
Jeez. You just sort that out.
Yeah, I need to shave.
Hair, man.
I'd say not, Rox. I'd say not. Gonna get another strip sack. You got to get in so quick. You got to blow by somebody, man. I mean, anybody lays a body on you and the ball's going to get released. I mean, it's really hard to get this guy. That's why he's had such a long career, you know?
Yeah, he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame, but he's in that group right below.
Had a long career, and any quarterback who has that long a career is to be taken seriously. And, it's not good news for Jacoby Brissett when a guy like Phillip Rivers beats you out, because that means that a guy who's older, who's on the downside of a career, basically has just beaten out a younger guy for the quarterback position. That doesn't speak real well for the way your team thinks about you. But, again, if you do get a hit in on Phillip Rivers, he might fall apart physically. He's,
Yeah, arm could go there, a leg could go there. He's like a better Jake Delhomme, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's the ultimate game manager, and he can pick you apart with the short game and the intermediate game. There's going to be so many balls that you're going to see thrown that are 7 to 13 yards. It's going to make your head spin. And yeah, the height of the quarterback, he can see over the defensive line. So,
but now the same thing that was with Bernie is because of that sidearm delivery, it can be batted down.
Yeah, he's not up here.
The defensive players have to get their fucking arms up. They can't be just, hand fighting with the offensive line all the time.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's the same age as Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I think he is.
I think he's older.
38.
I think he's 39.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around a long time. And, the way you beat this team is being steady. And it's like anything, you get ahead of them. If you can get ahead of this team, if you can get some mistakes and get some turnovers and get up on them, this is not the Dallas Cowboy comeback machine. This is a team that needs clock and loves to milk games out to last possessions and kick field goals to win. That's the stuff they're made of. So you got to come out fast. You got to, and you've got to be disciplined. You cannot hold. You cannot cost your team 10-yard penalties, and you can't be forced to throw into a deep coverage. You just need to manage the game better than they do. And you got to outperform them. This is the ultimate game. It's like playing somebody in the French Open tennis tournament who has really good ground strokes. And it's like,
Phillip Rivers, 38
person
years old.
who gets every ball back on a slow tennis surface. That's playing the Indianapolis Colts. They're just going to keep you out on the field for long periods of time. And you got to live with that. And the defense can't get winded. They just got to be in better condition. And we can't see these guys really sucking wind because, they will come up and they're fully capable of running a hurry up offense. I can tell you that. And any team who's watched the Browns play is going to give that a shot now, aren't they?
Especially when they go into the half or into the fourth quarter.
Right.
I did want to point out something that was, the NFL is running into a problem. And this is how I want to end the program because it's kind of on an ominous note.
Okay.
With COVID obviously being serious enough to take down the president of the United States out of the White House. And I hope that people are not taking this lightly anymore, although I understand that upon leaving the hospital today, that Mr. Trump was back to downplaying the virus. Easy to say when you've survived it, and 99% do. But sometimes it's not, you don't have Walter Reed Hospital to go to. Most of the people down here in Florida who've caught the virus are people who don't have the best medical. And he was very fortunate because they were able to jump on it and get on it early. And he got the very best health care that anybody in the country could ever have. The NFL's running into a problem. Games now are starting to be moved around the slate because of COVID positivity. The Tennessee Titans, 20 people now. COVID positive.
Well, maybe they need to put an extra week in, at the back end.
What they've done is they've made this week their both teams bye week. So the Steelers are on a bye, and so are the Titans. And then the bye week that the Steelers were going to have, they moved the game to that date and just took away the bye, and they're moving another game for the Titans that was supposed to be on that day.
Two things that the NFL's done here. They're implementing a video monitoring system to ensure compliance with protocols, which means that they don't trust the players, and rightfully so. And they want to ban gatherings outside of the club facility. And it's like, what the fuck? What kind of gatherings were going on outside the club facility?
Yeah.
And the answer to that question had to do with the Las Vegas Raiders attending a charity event. You can't do shit like that when your teammates, you're responsible for your teammates. So those things should never be happening. Goodell was pissed off. He said the protocols do not implement themselves, and our progress thus far cannot lead us to complacency. Complacency is our shared opponent. And I think that, he also stated we have to recommit ourselves to our protocols because, again, it's so easy to just kind of look the other way and say things like, it's just going to go away. It's going to blow away. One morning we're going to wake up and it's gone. It doesn't work that way, folks. Only 23% of the American public has had the goddamn virus. That means that 77% have not. And you're going to be seeing masks for the next year. You're going to be seeing this shit for a long goddamn time. Get used to it. Wake up to reality. And the NFL realizes that the players, the football season started and everything seems to be back to normal, even though there's no fans in the stadium. The players are getting used to that. And now all of a sudden they're going out and, they're going out in gatherings. That's exactly what has led to the plague entering the White House. You cannot have big gatherings. It doesn't work. And this could wipe out the NFL season. If other teams are as, lackadaisical about the protocols as what we're seeing from, in the instance of the Tennessee Titans.
Well, look what it did to the baseball season.
That's right. It blows up teams.
And if it fucks up, if the Browns actually do win the next 3 or 4 games, and have a record of like 7-2 or 9-1, and then it gets canceled because of COVID, I mean, we're going to be a pretty fucked off fan base.
Well, and again, it's beyond the point where you just wish and hope and make it want to go away.
They have bubbles here in England. That's why the Premier League. That's why cricket season went on.
There's still 40% of the American public who believes the president of the United States that it's of no real danger whatsoever. And the rest of the 77% of our population will get this. It will find us because we're not doing what we need to do to whittle it down so that, like other flus, it will just die a natural kind of death. Not to say it wouldn't come back in another flu season, but unfortunately, take it from me, and I'm not, a disease specialist, but it can't go anywhere until either it consumes us or we kind of starve it. Go ahead, Bronk.
Well, the big news here was the Suffolk Show, which is like the Ohio State Fair of farming in England, for May 2021 has already been canceled today because they can't feel confident enough to have it done in a safe enough environment. So we're already canceling stuff 7-8 months further down the line from what you guys are doing, and that's being cautious. Now, like I said, cricket was able to have a proper championship this year and a proper 2020 championship because they had really strict bubbles. These players could not go anywhere or do anything. In some cases, they were locked in hotels at the ground they played at. They were in a bubble inside the hotel at the stadiums.
Well,
So-
one thing I want to point out is that this is a surge that has nothing to do with flu season. All right.
Oh, absolutely.
The
Yeah.
flu season isn't here yet. All right. What we're seeing now is a surge because of our own stupidity, because we've listened to things and we have decided from listening to a bunch of different people talk about this that we just want to eat out at restaurants, in restaurants that have crowds. We want to work out in crowded gym facilities. This is the surge due to a lack of discipline. We hate the lack of discipline in our football teams, but we don't seem to mind it so much in ourselves.
But by the same token, we either have an economy or we don't.
Well, I understand that there
So
are no good.
there's got to be some middle ground there.
I'm just pointing out.
I found it, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just
found that middle ground.
I'm just pointing out that there is a likely surge that would be coming during flu season anyway, because look, down here in Florida, we're getting everybody who went up north coming back. And a lot of these people come from the Midwest, and that's where we're seeing big spikes. They're going to bring that disease back to Florida with them. So this has a delayed effect on different parts of the country. And you're going to see warm weather climates like us get more of the virus again because people are going to bring it in here.
And Arizona.
And then we have to worry about the actual flu season itself. You're not going to be rid of this thing until at the earliest, the middle of 2021. And I hope that by then we have a vaccine for it. So, and I'll tell you another thing that you may not want to hear, but depending on the outcome of the election, the way the government handles this is going to be very different. And you're going to see a lot more closures with the Democratic administration than you're going to see with Donald Trump. And you can decide for yourself what you like and what you don't like. But again, I can guarantee you, if Joe Biden becomes president on January the 1st and gets sworn in and all that shit in the beginning of the year, he's going to implement measures if this virus is still cracking down on the country. And it will be very different than what a Republican administration would. So this virus is an issue, and how you want to handle it is just another reason y'all should go out and vote. One way or the other, just be present, be heard. I got to get out of here because I have got sciatica, and sitting here is fucking killing me. We'll be back again on Friday with the pregame analysis, and we'll see where the Browns stand injury-wise. And I'm sure we'll have some more intelligence on the Colts and what the Browns need to do. What are you doing, Bronk?
I'm just holding my hoof up, so going move.
Hooves up.
Move.
Social distance hooves. So thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again on Friday with the pregame analysis. And remember, my analysis is better than your analysis.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.